Hello, world. I'm Natasha. This is my mom.
Hi.
This is Cynthia Nicholas, formerly Cynthia Rodriguez, formerly Cynthia Skirtis, and my mom. And my favorite thing to do, one of my favorite things to do is have conversations. Full stop. And my mom and I were having a conversation the other day, and my stepdad, Angel Nicholas, said, you guys should do a podcast. And I said, Angel, I've always wanted to do a podcast, and I've had all these like ideas in my head about catchy names, and I think what I've landed on is TalkToTash, because that's my name, and it's you are talking to me, or you're going to be talking to me now. So I don't know if that's what we're going to do. I don't even know if this is going to be posted. So we're just going to keep it casual, and I feel really lucky because I can have really below the surface, meaningful conversations with my own mom. So we're just going to talk, and you get to listen, whoever you are.
And then what camera am I looking at?
None.
None? Oh, I'm looking at you. Perfect.
I was just talking to the world, but I'm going to talk to you now.
Okay.
Okay, so we were just talking a little bit, and my first question for you is, do you think everybody has trauma?
Yes.
Everyone?
Well, everyone except a person that grows up in a space with people that are raising them that are extremely enlightened. So to answer your question, yes, I think everybody has trauma.
Yeah.
In general.
What's trauma?
Trauma is anything that leaves a scar in your heart.
Okay.
Anything. It can be anything. And it can be something simple.
Even if someone grows up with like many, many resources and very fortunately, like, can they still grow up to be an adult that has scars in their heart?
So the thing about the heart is not the brain.
Okay.
So the brain has logic, right? And the brain can tell you, oh, your 5-year-old self, your mom's late picking you up, she's in traffic, and you're going to say, she was. And you're going to say, and your 5-year-old self is going to hear that and logically know that your mom is stuck in traffic, but your heart might race. And for a minute, because you're 5, and this is the first time you haven't been picked up on time, and everybody else is cleared out.
Oh, it's the worst feeling.
How does it feel? It feels terrifying.
Yeah.
Does it feel like you're being abandoned?
Probably, yeah.
It feels like, is my mom coming? Is my mom not coming? There's this uncertainty because the world is new.
Yeah.
So you don't understand what's going on in your mind. You just feel. In your head, but in your heart, you're like in pain.
Yeah.
So then that creates a little scar on your heart. And as you grow older, logically, now you're 10 and your mom's still late picking you up from school, and you just go play with your friends. You know she's coming. So you've been able to intellectualize it and reason and mature and grow and know that that doesn't mean that.
Okay.
But your heart has that scar.
You're not healed from that.
You're not healed from that. It's still there. It's still there. And then something might happen later on in your life where you feel abandoned again. And so that's a feeling that your heart remembers because your heart has memory. So that feeling might be compounded by the first feeling of being abandoned, and it has a larger effect. So trauma doesn't have to be this like massive thing. It can be something very simple. It can be, my mom never kissed me before I fell asleep at night. She didn't tuck me in. I don't know. That might be okay for you. It might not be okay for somebody else. It might leave a scar.
Yeah.
You might have cried yourself to sleep a few nights wanting your mom's hug. That could hurt. So things like that. So then what happens? You decide, oh, I'm not going to cry because my mom's not coming to put me to sleep. This is ridiculous. I need to be a big girl. I'm not going to cry. So then what happens? You create a callus. Oh, I'm strong. I'm not going to cry. And you start creating like all of these shields, to help you deal with your environment. So yes, I think everybody has trauma.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think most of the time that I grew up, I thought I wasn't allowed to have trauma because thankfully I always perceived that nothing super traumatic had happened to me. And like people around me sometimes did, where like someone would, they'd have to like grieve a family member dying, or even like moving from state to state could be something traumatic when you're like leaving your friends or leaving like, the community, and like nothing like that had happened to me. because you raised me so grounded and so like in one place. But now through therapy, it's like dealing with certain traumas, and that was like something that I had to wrap my head around. I was like, I don't have traumas. I didn't have a traumatic life. I've not lived a traumatic life. So it's like something that I've had to like change my belief on, that like everybody does have trauma to deal with and heal from. I don't know why I always thought of it as something like I didn't deserve.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You didn't deserve to have an emotion that would elicit a response that you were uncomfortable with.
Mm-hmm. And I did a lot of comparing myself to people that I've never met and don't actually have any empathy for, because I've never understood their situation. Like people in other countries that don't have the resources that we have here. Mm-hmm. And I'd be like, I'm fine. I have food and water. Why am I upset that my mom didn't come to pick me up?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, you're rationalizing your emotion. But the thing is, so, you know, like we just said, emotions and feelings, they don't have the rationale that the brain does. Mm-hmm. So they don't always make sense. And they don't need to be rationalized. Yeah. They just need to be accepted and felt.
Okay. So is there any way for a child to grow up without trauma?
I think it's nearly impossible, only because we live in a really fast-paced world with a lot of moving parts. So I think if you grow up in the mountains, like in the middle of nowhere, where you're living off these beautiful vegetables and, you know, food from the earth, and you have these wonderful angel-like people raising you, and life is blissful. Like if you ask a monk, how do you remain in that space that you live in? Yeah. Because they always look so like in this like magical space, and they'll tell you they don't allow anything to influence the way that they're thinking, the way that they're you know, they protect their space, and they don't allow your emotions to transcend onto them. And okay, but they live in the middle of the desert, or in the middle, you know, these were Tibetan monks that I was speaking to, and they, you know, they don't live in the world we live in. So you get in traffic, you have pressure from school or work, you have relationships with people that are difficult, you are growing up in a house with parents that haven't done any work and they're emotionally unstable and they're putting that on you, or they haven't had any reflection and they're putting that on you, on top of your own things. And then you go to school and the teacher has her stuff, and the way she speaks to you affects you, either good or bad. And then the way the kid next to you looks at you affects you, good or bad. Yeah. There's so many things going on in a world, and now we have the phone, which is a blessing and a curse, as we all know. Yeah. So all of that information coming up, you know, I feel so sorry for kids today. It's like too much stuff. It's just too much information, you know? Yeah. And all of that compounds and compounds. So yeah, I think you can grow up without no trauma if you're not living in you know, in this world. If you're lucky enough to live in the outskirts of Earth.
Okay, so you're raising a 7-year-old who's turning 8 in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
What's your goal? Yeah, what are your goals in terms of parenting now? Because you've raised me, I'm 19, my sister's 16, Ella, and now Camila is in a different generation.
Yes.
Do you feel like you're parenting differently than you did when my sister and I were younger?
In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no.
Okay, how yes, how no?
So, no in the way that what matters to me as far as your moral system, your ethical system, stability in the home, certain ways that we just do things that create order and accountability and all of that, I think that's all in line. What's not in line with the way I raised you is I'm not as rigid.
Okay.
At all.
I am.
You are. I put that on you. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
But I'm not as rigid anymore. And I realized that, okay, she wants that disgusting sugar cereal for breakfast. Great, have it. I'm not, you know, like I made you eat egg whites and oatmeal your whole life. Like
I did. I had oatmeal,
you know,
Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
At breakfast, only
With
TV
water,
on
with
Fridays.
water and not I didn't even make it with milk, I don't think.
No.
Well,
Sometimes.
I
feel like on special days, but like no electronics. No electronics Monday through Thursday. Could watch TV with breakfast on Friday mornings before school. Oatmeal every single day.
Yeah.
I feel like Fridays we could have like waffles or like pancakes or something. Like on weekends.
On weekends, yeah.
Yeah, it was a very rigid lifestyle, but like I really liked it. It was so comfortable.
Well, there's good and bad in everything.
Yeah.
And I'm a rigid person. Your father's a rigid person.
Yeah.
It's the way we function. And I wish that I knew more now of what I know now then. I think it would have created a bit of a different atmosphere for you to be able to feel the emotions that you're discussing that you didn't realize you had. I would have given you the permission to do that, which I couldn't do that for you because I couldn't do it for myself. So if you can't do something for yourself, you can't do it for somebody else.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do that. So I've recognized a balance in my life that I severely needed. And so I'm raising Cami with that balance. And I wish I had that balance with the two of you, but I didn't. So you're a product of whatever environment you were in. And I think when everything's done with good intention and with love, in the end, it's all okay, because you're going to have what you're going to have regardless of the way I raised you. Like, of course, I contribute to it, but it's not like you're going to get off scotch-free. So let's say that so Cami's going to have trauma. It's not like I'm like this like renowned saint now and I know exactly what to do all the time. No.
Yeah.
I'm also learning as I'm going. However, I recognize that there's a better balance in my system that I'm able to relay to her.
Okay. You were talking about stability in a house being one of the like core pillars of parenting for you.
Yes.
Right? How did you do that when you weren't married?
When I wasn't married, how did I do that?
Yeah, because for most of my life you haven't been married.
True.
Right?
I don't know.
That's what I remember.
I got married when you were 10 and I got divorced when you were 3.5, almost 4.
So maybe not most of my life, but for what it feels like my whole childhood.
Yeah, you were little when I was married to your dad.
You weren't married.
Right.
But I agree that you did raise Ella and I in a super stable household. So how do you do that?
With the rigidity, with the order, with the bedtime, with the reading before bed, with the singing, with the saying prayers, with the
tennis, dance, piano, voice.
Tennis, dance, piano, voice, skiing.
Yeah.
Just with all of that, keeping you busy and keeping you on a schedule.
Yeah.
And
wow.
Yeah.
That really speaks to like how I act in my daily life now.
But I want to believe, and I don't know, you'll be able to answer this because I don't know. I want to believe that I did it with a lot of love.
Yeah.
I feel like I was also fun and nurturing, and I was never not willing to like cuddle and hug and
yeah. Talking about like I cut you off. What were you gonna say? No. I see you as very fun. I've never seen you as rigid until you've identified as rigid to me. I see my dad as really rigid because his career was so demanding of it.
Yes.
But I see you as very, very fun, and I'm the rigid one, even though you really put me in all these situations where I was like really busy all the time, even though I think my ambition is my own thing.
Yeah, that's your drive.
Like my middle school that I went to, I wanted to go to.
Yes.
And you didn't put that on me. So I'm not, and like in 6th grade I didn't make the volleyball team, and then like I made it my life's mission to make the volleyball team. Like you really didn't put that on me. And then I made it the next year.
So I feel a parent's position is to support.
Yeah.
And so I always had mandatory things that you had to do.
Yeah.
You had to play piano.
Yeah.
And you had to take tennis.
Yes.
Right? Those are the two things that I was mandatory about. Why? Piano to me is the introduction of music, and I wanted you to be able to read music and understand music. I didn't care if you played the piano professionally or well.
Even though you're not a musical person.
Even though I'm not a musical person, I know the importance of learning a musical instrument. I wanted that for you. You loved it, gravitate towards it. Ella would jump in the pool 2 minutes before the lesson and say, I'm wet, I can't take my piano lesson, you know? And I would make her sit at the piano in her bathing suit and take her lesson, stopping wet, dripping wet. So that was that.
So good.
And then the tennis for me was just like eye-hand coordination, outside, running, and like forcing you to do something that might have been uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's a sport that I knew you could use in your adulthood if you wanted to. Same thing with skiing. I didn't care if you were like some avid skier, but I wanted you to be able to go, if you were invited on a ski trip when you're older, I wanted you to be able to put skis on and at least know how to get down the mountain without killing yourself, you know? So those were my goals, is just to give you like skills for your life. But then everything else, I let you control. So if you wanted to dance, if you wanted to sing, if you wanted to act, if you wanted to, I don't know, take pottery, it was fine. I would support you in that decision. But I would make you finish it.
Oh, yeah.
I would make you finish it.
Oh, my gosh. Do you remember ballet when I really took, like, a good year of it and I would, like, cry? I would get in the car and, like, just cry and not want to go back.
Yes.
Yeah. But I ended up loving it.
It was fine. But, you know, I think it gave us a lot of good conversations about, like, well, how is it making you feel? And do you really want to quit? Like, is that really something that you want to do? And we would have those conversations.
Yeah.
So when I say that I was rigid in my foundation of life, but in my daily living, I myself don't seem like a rigid person. And I agree with you.
I think that also gave me, just bouncing off that, like a quitting problem. And now I can't quit anything. I just did a musical in Dexter, Michigan at the Encore Musical Theater Company. It was Oklahoma, and it was a lot of fun. And I kind of got sick near the end.
I know.
And my friends were looking out for me, kind of letting me know that they had the choreography covered if I needed to step out. And I, like, did not let it happen. And, like, you know, some friends and my mom, like, people from outside, I was kind of expressing, like, I feel fine. I can really do it. I don't need all this assistance and, like, precaution. Like, I'm fine. And they were all like, it's fine. Like, you can not do the show if you don't feel well. And I'm like, but I can do the show.
Yeah.
It was very
angry about it.
Yeah, I was kind of angry about it.
Yeah. You were angry
and I was
about it.
I was a little offended, not going to lie, that, like, that was even I'm still a little confused as to why everyone around me was so willing to have me not do it.
Like, because you had mono. It's one of the most highly contagious, like,
only
things
by
that can
saliva.
Yes, but it destroys your system. It makes you exhausted. Like,
I've heard that people have had really
so maybe yours wasn't severe, but, like, it's okay if you have mono to say, like, I can't perform tonight.
Yeah.
So,
but I did every show and I'm proud of it.
Well,
and so
that's great. I'm glad you didn't give it to anybody else.
I mean, but I think that's, like, maybe a flaw.
So I wouldn't look at anything as a flaw. Okay, because nothing's good or bad. It's just what it is. And so instead of looking at it as a flaw, you need to look at it as a learning opportunity.
Okay.
Because in life, we're all going to make mistakes. And we're all going to decide on things that are not going to pan out. Like, it's just going to happen. And if they're your mistakes, and if they're your, like, wrong turns, wonderful, because then it's a gift. You get to learn from those mistakes.
Totally.
And that's why they say older people are usually the wisest people, because they've made plenty of mistakes and they've learned from all of them. And so, you know, it's the only way we grow and learn. It's like the only way. So you have to extract from that, what is it that about yourself that you possibly didn't feel that you deserved to take a day off and rest your body? What does that mean about you? How did that define you? What does that say? Like, how does that speak to you? And those are the questions and the feelings you need to dive into to see what the emotion is that is surrounding your ability to, like, fight through mono and not quit.
I think it's wanting to prove myself still. Like,
right. Like your worth?
Oh. I don't even know. Prove my worth? To who?
To yourself?
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. But you'll know if you think about it.
Okay.
You know?
I'll think about it.
I mean, do you want an example of this similar thing?
Sure.
So when when I was getting divorced from your father, Ella was an infant and you were almost 4. And I was always into, fitness and all these things. And I was training with your godfather and we were fasting, which we would do occasionally just to see if we could. We would just not eat, right? And continue working out. So yeah, that's Dodd. So anyway, I had been fasting and working out, and I'm sitting in the gym.
Which is not something you advise all the time,
No,
all seasons of the year.
No,
like
no.
fuel your body.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a proponent of any certain. I'm not a nutritionist.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, I'm sitting in the gym, and I'm feeling kind of like not well, but just I'm still going to get my workout in. And a friend of mine walks in the gym, and she looks at me. She says, "Your eyes are yellow." So what do you mean? She goes, "You look jaundiced. What's wrong with you?" I said, "I don't know, but I don't really feel that well." She goes, "Get in my car. You need to come with me." And thank God she had this like intuition to take me to Bal Harbor to go see a woman that has colonics. I had never received a colonic before. I had no idea.
What is that?
So a colonic is where they put water in your colon and they flush out your system.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So this woman that we go to see, this woman is just like really amazing. She's a healer. She just knows things by looking at your stool. It sounds disgusting, but she just does. And so I'm filling out the form, and it says from 1 to 10, mark your stress level. And I think I put 0. 0. Are you married? No. Do you have children? Yes. How many? 2. Ages? 2 months, 3 years.
Yeah.
So the lady, I get on the table, and the lady says, "I'm confused by something." And I said, "What is that?" She says, "You say that you have a 2-month-old?" And I go, "Oh yeah, I have a baby." And a 3-year-old? "Oh yeah, she's almost 4. And you're not married? Were you married?" "Oh yeah, I was married, but I'm in the middle of getting divorced." "You're getting divorced now? Are you divorced now?" "I'm getting divorced." "Oh, but your stress level is 0?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I feel great. She goes, "Well, you might feel great, but your body's telling you something different."
Yeah.
She said, "Your body is so stressed out that you're not digesting your food. So you have undigested food sitting in your colon. And because you're fasting, your body is eating the undigested food and you're poisoning yourself." Wow. And so like, thank God I was there, because she just cleaned it. I left there feeling like a different person, and she was able to put me like, she's like, you need to eat. Like, don't fast right now. Your body is too stressed out for that. Just, like take care of yourself. And like, she was like such a gift to me that day. But so I understand what you're saying is my point. I do. It's important to look into those moments deeper and uncover why when you're ready. We don't always see, because we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know. I was so numb to the situation that I was great. And I was great for a long time, for years. So
when do you think you dealt with that? Like, when did you heal from your divorce?
So I think I healed relatively quickly, because first of all, I had to recognize that it was something to heal from. That was my whole thing, was just recognizing that. Mm-hmm. But once I recognized that, I was able to really look at the information that I had at hand and decide how I wanted to view it.
Yeah.
And for me, divorce does not mean that you no longer are mandated like not to love. And I choose to always love your father. I love him. He's one of the greatest loves of my life. He's the father of my children. It doesn't get more intimate than that. And I honor and respect everything about him that he gave me that's inside of you. So when I see your dad, I see myself, and I see you. I see all three. Okay. And I see this beautiful combination of the woman that you are today, the young woman that you are today. But I can't discount him, because he's in you. He's part of you. His DNA it runs in your blood. So for me to like have any disdain against your dad or any kind of ill will, what does that say about
But how
my
do you
children?
get there? Because that's not something that women typically, or how women typically view an ex even.
I think it's a choice.
Yeah.
It's a choice. And how did I get there? I think God, I believe in God. I believe that God is everything. And I believe that your faith is everything. And I believe that when you have those moments in prayer that are very silent, you learn so much. And I've always had that relationship with God. And I've always been able to seek him out whenever I need answers. And I don't know. I've always viewed life as, people do not get married to get divorced. Like, I don't think anybody gets married and says, oh, I'm going to marry you today, but we're going to get divorced. Like, but things happen, and people have their own journeys and their own learning and their own. Are you going to decide to hate somebody because they're not in the same place that you are spiritually or emotionally or whatever it may be? Mm-hmm. How can you feel sorry for them, or can you like wish them well? Like, do you have to hate them?
Well, the thing about hatred is that if I decide I hate you as my mother, I want to cut off communication, that might hurt you. I mean, it would. It would destroy probably both of us. But it would do more harm to myself. If I was holding on to hatred for you, I'm still the one holding on to hatred.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
So I respect that. I love that my parents love each other. Like, what a blessing.
Yes.
What a gift. That's so rare. So rare. But I also think it's the smart thing to do. Like, I think you'd be having a hard time if you were holding on to this hatred from someone in your past that you have to, like, see every day in me and my sister.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So you're doing the smart thing. Not only is it, like, the correct and moral, like, right and lovely thing, it's just, like, a smart
I think the big mistake people make is they think that forgiveness means acceptance. And just because I forgive you doesn't mean that I can accept what you did as right. You know, I don't have to.
Yeah.
I don't have to agree with the way you're living your life or the choices you're making or the things you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't have to resonate with that. I don't have to think that that's good for me. So I can distance you from me, but I can love you.
I'm really learning
and I can wish you well.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't need to have you in my immediate circle because you're causing harm to me or you're not wanting the same things that I want for my life, and we're on different paths.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm learning that in friendships.
Yeah, it happens in friendships too.
Because, like, there are things I like so much about people, but having them too close to me is a little, like, dangerous for me. Maybe I don't know if that's the right word. But I don't know. I take trust really seriously. And I take, like, and it's kind of one of my big pillars of friendship. And it's kind of how I decide who to be close to. Because I feel like there are other things I can get over, but trust is something that is a really, like, a huge priority for me in friendships. So there are things that I really like about people, but, like, one of the traits I might really not like is that, like, they have a big mouth and can't really keep things that are important to me between us in a friendship. So it's like there has to be a boundary, but I still have so much love.
Some friends you call when you have a serious problem. It's like, this person, I trust their insight and where they're gonna and what they're gonna. Their information is not going to be one-sided or biased, you know. And then there's the person you call when you want someone to, like, be on your side and, like, say, you know, doesn't this suck? You know. So whatever. Like, you have friends for different reasons and different moments, and there might be that one special friend that crosses between all of it, which is such a gift if you have that. Cool. You know. But in general, we have different friends for different things. And that's fine too. Like, not one person does not have to fit everything about you, you know? And I think that also what happens in marriages, people think, oh, I'm going to marry you and you're going to complete me and fit all of my needs. It's impossible. Yeah. It's impossible. So it's like, you have to really develop this, like, skill of learning how to seek out people in your life that help you become and develop more of what and who you want to represent in your life. To put that on one person's shoulders is a big mistake.
Yeah, not fair.
No.
To that person.
No, at all. They're never going to measure up.
But
they're never going to measure up.
How do you not do that, though? Specifically in a romantic relationship. Well, I guess it could be in friendships too. But I feel like when you really like someone, you really want them to fill all these cups for you.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen, though.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. Like, there's going to be something that, well, there's going to be a lot that you need to do for yourself first, you know? But then there might be some things that person just doesn't have fun doing with you. I don't know. Let's say that you like to read and you want to be part of a book club, and He doesn't like reading or being part of book clubs. You might join a book club, and that 1 hour a week might really like feel good for you. And that's fine. Like, he doesn't have to complete that. But then you're becoming more of who you are, so you're able to give him more because you're more. So, and the same with him.
So what I've not learned recently, but have been shown recently, is that you really should make an effort to feel wholehearted and complete on your own before joining forces with a partner romantically. So if you're trying to kind of fill your own cup and like prioritize yourself, take care of yourself, what are you looking for in a partner?
So, you're going to attract whatever your needs are at the moment.
Okay.
So the healthier you are, the healthier relationship you're going to attract. The more aware you are of yourself, the more you know what is good and not good for yourself. So unfortunately, we learn these things as we grow.
Yeah.
So typically, every once in a while, there's a special moment where that one person fulfills you for your whole life. Like a swan, like they mate with one person, that's it. Beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Storybook. But we are all growing and learning. And so if we're growing and learning in a different direction than our partner, we might have learned so much from that person. But there might be an expiration date on the relationship. And are you supposed to stay there? Well, I think when it's a marriage and children, sometimes you need to really identify what's going on. But I don't think that there should be like a sentence where you're like, because you decided this is the person, that's it. You need to really be honest with yourself and really like seek inner wisdom and figure out what is it about this person that is bringing up these feelings in me.
I don't want to be with one person forever. Is that crazy to say?
No, not at all.
I think because my parents are divorced and like that's something I don't want in my life. Though I'm thankful for it in some ways, it's not what I want, obviously. I think it's what anyone wants, like you said.
Right.
So I'd really like to be so sure of who I am and what I'm looking for when I do decide to marry someone, that like I really am kind of excited about experiencing different people and like different things and learning from different partners.
Yeah, I think it's a healthy approach. I think it's good. I think that there's going to be one person that is just going to feel different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I don't, but I trust you.
You'll know. You just feel it. It's different. And I think the main difference is it's going to be somebody that is worth fighting for. Somebody that is worth going through the vulnerability of a relationship, the transparency of a relationship. Somebody that you look at them and you say, all these things are in line. And I know this is a good person for my life.
Yeah.
But that means I'm going to have to work on this, or whatever it may be, It's never going to be perfect. So if you wait around for the person that's perfect, you're never going to be happy because it's impossible. But you're going to find somebody that is worthy of your love, of your time, of your attention, of your work, because anything that's worthy is hard work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever obtained anything without work that you have coveted? No. So that is the same with relationships. You're going to meet that person that you're going to say, this person is worth me sticking my neck out for,
But I think that can exist without marrying that person.
It definitely can.
Like, I think if I date someone from 20 to 25,
I did that.
We grow into different people and want different things at different parts of the world and in different industries or whatever it may be, and like it doesn't work, that person is worth fighting for, sticking my neck out for, being vulnerable, changing myself potentially. But like, if I don't want them to father my children, then
it's a red flag.
Then it's like,
that's a problem.
Then it would have to like end.
But that
relationship would still be worthwhile.
Okay, yes, and you're going to learn and grow from it. But then that's when you move on from.
Yeah.
If you want children.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you don't want a child with a man, that says an enormous amount of information.
Yeah.
Enormous. We can choose to ignore it because sometimes maybe we want to ignore it because it's not a time for children. and this is fun or whatever, or interesting or inspiring, and that's fine, you know. But as long as you're aware of that, as long as you're not like going through life blindly but you have to be careful not to miss the journey of life. You know, you have to also just let it organically like flow and kind of feel what feels right. If you try to like analyze everything and intellectualize everything all the time, you're in your head too much, and then you don't have balance between your head and your heart. And that is like having a computer that has like a short wire.
Yeah.
You know? So balance is huge. And you just have to make sure that you're always in balance and that you're never like too much in your head or too much in your heart, because you don't want to just also always be just this emotional mess. So you kind of have to like, really, that balance is, I think, really what helps us in life, like have our energy body in alignment. And that means balance between our head and our heart, balance between our masculine side, our feminine side, you know? So all of that.
2 questions. One is just curiosity, because I don't know if we've actually talked about it for real. Zodiacs, horoscopes.
Yeah.
Do you believe in them?
So I think it's like going to the movies.
Okay.
I think it's fun
to
read about it. I think there's a lot of coincidences that happen to be true.
Okay.
You know, and I find it to be fascinating. I think astrology is like really incredible.
Yeah.
You know, really, if you talk to an astrologist has a lot of introspection, like it's pretty incredible what they can see in your birth chart.
You said that for me, right?
When you were little. Actually, It wasn't me. It was a gift to you. It was a gift to you from a famous golf player, from Lee Trevino, I think. Lee Trevino, is that his name? Yeah. Anyway, his wife gifted you a reading, an astrological.
That's cool. Do you have that?
It's cool, except that I don't know. I might have it, but the problem with it is I think it's an hour off the birth time. I think she gave them the wrong birth time, so I don't know how accurate. Things. Well, I don't know how much, because I'm not an astrologist, but I think it throws it off a little bit.
I think it matters.
I think it has to be in general the time. I don't know.
And you're a Capricorn?
A Capricorn.
I'm a Scorpio.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of truth. I mean, Capricorn's Earth, I'm very like stable, rooted, grounded. Yeah.
Whenever I tell someone I'm a Scorpio, they're like, "Oh, there must be something I don't know about you."
Yeah, because you don't translate that way when you meet somebody.
Yeah.
But there's many different signs to the zodiac. You're not just one sign.
I know. My moon is in Aquarius.
Yeah, that's I think how you look.
My rising is Sag.
And that's how you feel inside. Fire.
Really?
Fire.
Is that fire?
Fire.
Do we know what we're talking about now?
Yeah, Sag is fire.
Okay.
And your rising sign is what you project to the world. And that's why. Yeah, I think also Scorpios and like a lot of signs, you grow into who you're supposed to be. Like you can be very different as a child as you are as an adult.
Yeah.
And I see that happening in you. Like you're like changing.
I was very shy.
You were very shy, remember? So you're not so shy anymore. So you slowly like start to evolve as a person. So I think there's a connection in all of that. I do. I resonate a lot with like the tarot card deck. I think it's great.
Yeah.
And I grew up with my grandmother reading, Greek coffee cups. She would read the grinds. It's like Turkish coffee. It's thick coffee. Oh. So you'd put the coffee cup upside down. So she'd be like in one room reading the coffee grinds. And then my grandfather would be praying in the other room, saying that that's witchcraft. So like,
well, yeah. Okay, wait. Tell about who your grandparents were.
Right. So my grandfather was the priest at St. Sophia Church. He built the church when he was 21 with my grandmother from Boston. They moved here to build the Greek congregation in Miami. And so he did that.
Yeah. And then Yayatula, that's Papudimo. Yayatula, his wife.
His wife
was a superhero.
A superhero. She was my hero. For sure. She like walked on water. She could do anything. And she could do literally anything.
And had all these accolades.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she did everything. She could make clothes. She sewed my mom's wedding gown. Mm-hmm. She owned a women's clothing store called Cynthia's on Miracle Mile. She was a DJ, like a Greek radio, like...
Yeah.
She was a translator for Miss Universe. When Miss Universe was Greek, she went around the world translating for her. She had the youth group at St. Sophia Church like an army.
Yeah, Goya.
I mean, if you see this picture, it's like an army. And they were like perfect.
Greek teenagers.
I mean, perfect. Yeah. And if you had gum in your mouth, oof. And if you didn't smile, and if your hair wasn't out of your face, I mean, there were rules that you had to follow. And then, you know, she ran a tight ship.
Yeah.
But for me, she was like just everything to me. And I spent a lot of time with her. And we were very close. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're very different, my grandfather and my grandmother. Very different, but both very special. I'm learning to be, I'm closer to my grandfather in his death than I was in his life.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm understanding things that he would say to me and things that I would see him do that now I know, like I was meant to see everything that I saw, and now I understand what it all was.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
The last question, I think. What is challenging you in your life right now?
Wow, it's a good question. Organization.
Say more.
Huh?
Say more.
Yeah. So if you had asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would have given you a different answer. But right now, like just now, actually, when I was getting ready, I couldn't find anything. Okay. And that's why I was late. Like I couldn't find my brush. I couldn't find my sunscreen, I couldn't find anything. And I thought, oh my God, like how long am I going to live like this? Like this is my life. Like I'm constantly like in this mess in my bathroom and in my clothes and I somehow just throw things on because I guess it's unimportant to me really. Like really I'm not about that. At least I wish I was more like that. Yeah. But I'm just not good at it. So I just kind of throw on anything and go. And it's like, okay, I've been saying since we moved into this house, which it's almost 4 years now.
4 years. It was all of high school for me, actually. Oh, no. Sophomore year. So 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
That I need to like go through all the drawers, go through all the closets, because when I moved, I put stuff places and I've looked through it and I've organized it a little bit, but it's funny how we accumulate stuff and it gets messy really fast. Right. So like that's bothering me right now. Like I feel like I have a mess everywhere and I need to like just organize everything.
Okay.
Which, believe it or not, that translates to the way you feel in your life.
Okay.
You know, if your drawers are really messy and things are really messy, you tend to be a little scattered. So I feel like the organization helps me feel like organized.
Yeah.
So that's my challenge right
now.
Yeah.
Just wanted to show that you're not perfect and you go through stuff.
I am not perfect and I learn things all the time and I'm constantly being reminded that I'm imperfect. That's number one. Yeah.
All right. Good stuff.
Love you.
Love you. Yeah.